Hello to all my Starseed family, to the Wayshowers, to the Grid Workers, to the Guardians of New Earth. I'm here today because I got a very clear vision this morning that my guides wanted me to relay over to you about some of the upcoming events with the people in your life. And it was very, very clear. So, what I was shown is that the last few months, you've obviously had a wedge that's been driven between you and a friend or a lover or people that you really care about. You guys have drifted apart. And that's because of the rapid shifts that are taking place at an individual level as well as a collective level. And it's a lot for people to handle right now. It's literally like being sent on overdrive. So there were a lot of falling outs, people that it didn't necessarily get to a boiling point where you guys got really nasty with each other, but there was clearly a shift in the dynamic. Whether this was with a good friend of yours that had been in your life for a while, or a lover, perhaps a soulmate, a divine counterpart, a twin flame. So, what I was shown is that if you're watching this video, you're probably the more consistent one because you meditate consistently. And there's always going to be someone in a friendship that can see more than the other person. Not always, but most of the time I have found that there's one person who can see more. They're aware of the energies. They're aware of what the other person is thinking or feeling or hearing. And so if you're watching this video today, you're probably the more awakened one. That would not surprise me at all. So, whenever people separate off without explaining why they're doing so, without giving you a reason, they just ghost, that's not really the compassionate and conscious thing to do. But we also have to understand that they may not have the necessary tools in their toolbox or in their knowledge kit to be able to share openly with you. Feeling safe. A lot of us have a lot of safety issues, myself included, because of everything that we've been through in past lives from a linear standpoint, in alternate realities from a quantum standpoint. We've been burned at the stake, you guys. We've been persecuted. We've been ostracized. We've experienced all of it. And so it's very, very understandable that someone would completely ghost you if they don't have the wherewithal to be able to navigate the relationship in a conscious way. The vision I got is that a lot of these people have either or will be contacting you again and saying that they miss you because you've been holding a space for them. But more so, you've been holding a space for the reality that you're trying to construct. It's really like building a sandcastle when we build these realities from the inside out, because we work with our energies to reformulate a new way of being or a new reality, if you will. So you've been working with your energies, and these people who pulled away from you, they really hurt you. And again, we have to compassionize and empathize with what they're going through, and at the same time also recognize that whenever you're awakening and ascending, there are states of consciousness, there are phases within the evolutionary process. So you might be someone who gossips, and then you all of a sudden decide, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm going to go ahead and purify my soul and clean up my act and stop slipping, because it's keeping me in a loop cycle and it's not helping me. So you might stop gossiping overnight, and then a week later a situation arises and you start to engage in that old behavior again. This is all to say that it takes time for us to really bring more and more awareness to things, and to starve those old programs, to starve those old patterns, and to remap our brain. That doesn't happen overnight. And if you have people in your life who haven't really been diligent with plugging away at their soul, with putting in the work, they may come back to you and want to reconcile, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be like perfect. And none of us are perfect, but you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that's not going to happen again. Sorry, let me turn my phone off. It may happen again that they go ahead and deceive you or they ghost you again, because again, it's like peeling the layers of an onion. It does not happen overnight. This is an incremental process, recovering, healing, repairing our auric field. Or another viewpoint would be just getting rid and eradicating these programs that are deeply embedded in us, that are keeping us anchored in a lower version of reality. That does not happen overnight. As you guys know, I still find myself slipping sometimes. That's because that particular pattern was so fed with energy, with personal power, that of course it's going to try to sneak in there when it can. These energies are insidious. Truly they are. And we have to hold ourselves responsible, obviously, because we're the ones who fed those patterns with so much energy. And now they will find every opportunity to prey on your weakness or a moment of weakness. So the vision I got is that a lot of these people who have deceived you time and again, this wasn't a one-time thing where you're like, I'm done. Like this was a cumulative circumstance where it piled up. And it piled up and it piled up. It's like raking leaves. And it's like, all right, I can deal with this small pile of leaves. And then it keeps piling up and keeps piling up and keeps piling up. And then you have nothing left to give. So as these people try to re-enter your life, it's imperative that you ask yourself, and I'm just going to use a linear metaphor or a linear interpretation to get this point across. If you're on floor 8 of a building and they're like 2 floors below you vibrationally, like from a frequency standpoint, even if they come back in your life, you're already at floor 9 now and they may be at floor 7, but it'll always be like this. You see what I mean? You guys are always going to lift, but there will always be that gap between you guys. So I've been even sitting with myself, asking myself, because I'm somebody who forgives people. I give them chances over and over and over again, because I understand that sometimes I can be a little too rigid, where I'm so clairvoyant that I'll pick up on a judgment that they're holding and then I just write them off. Like I'm that kind of person, but I've been working on that for the last few years, expressing myself, like sinking into my heart and understanding that not everybody is a mind reader. I tend to expect that people read my mind, and that's not fair, So I've been working on building a bridge to meet people halfway, because that's for my own healing. But there are people who have really disappointed me or hurt me, and I'll give them like 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, and I have like a very soft spot for people, so I'll always let them back in. You need to ask yourself, you need to really examine or re-examine your relationships and ask yourself, do I really want to play this out again? Because really it's just a different rendition of the same song. Okay? It's a different episode of the same season that you've watched already. So even though they're bettering themselves and they're evolving, that gap will most likely, I don't want to say for sure, because a lot of people have instantaneous awakenings and they're not the same person anymore. So we also don't want to put people in a box. So just keep that in mind. But the majority of the time, even for someone who's very elevated, it takes time for us to deprogram ourselves. It takes time for us to decongest our energy fields, to get rid of all those old limiting beliefs and those old ways that we used to show up in the world with. So this was just a quick psychic forecast. Expect people to contact you again. They're going to come knocking at your door, and then you need to really sit with yourself and decide, are you going to open the door and let them walk through again and into your beautiful living room that you've been working so hard on, that's now super clean, spick and span, or do you want to go ahead and move forward with your life? This is very important, because we cannot keep giving people piggyback rides the rest of our lives. There are other people who are trying to meet you, or other people you're supposed to collaborate with or co-create with. But whatever works for you, I fully support you on your journey. I know for me, whenever I do it, the same old scenario plays out, and then I'm doing that to myself. I'm hurting myself at that point, because my guides are telling me like, hey, they're going to do this to you again. And I'm like, no, I want to see the best in them. But usually, people's leper, what's the saying? People's, the stripes on a leopard don't change, or their spots don't change. It's kind of how it works. So I love you guys. I hope that you can share this message, subscribe, and I love reading through all your comments so much.